evening, Grace, America. It's Hugh Hewitt from Dallas, Texas. It's been almost 2 weeks since bin Laden met his end at the hand of a Navy SEAL team and other special operators. And from almost the moment that report was received by me, I began to think about who would I like to talk with about that killing of bin Laden. Of course, the first nominee would be President George W. Bush, and I get to do that tomorrow night in front of a live audience in Dallas. And then the second person was Vince Flynn, America's preeminent master of the thriller, the creator of Mitch Rapp. His number one best-selling book, American Assassin, remains very high at the top of the charts. It's the first of the Mitch Rapp tales, and thanks to his generosity of time, Vince Flynn joins us now. Hello, Vince.
Hugh, great to be on the show, buddy. And I'll take number two to W.
Well, I am looking forward to tomorrow. I think he'll be cagier than I hope you'll be with me. I think you're going to be pretty straightforward on this.
I'll be very straightforward. Yeah, I saw him at a dinner party in Minneapolis last, it was September, and he has really loosened up. But he will not, I mean, he's loosened up in the sense of how relaxed he is. But if somebody asks him a question that he doesn't want to answer, he just does.
Yeah, I've run into that before.
Yeah, and now that he's not president, he's really good at it. He just says, nope, not going to do it.
And so I might get a couple of those tomorrow night, but we'll set the table at least right now. Perhaps W is listening. VinceFlynn.com, America. I'm going to refer to his website a couple of times. And I want to start there, Vince. Before we talk about bin Laden, you had posted news at VinceFlynn.com that you've had a health challenge of yourself. Update the audience on how you're doing.
Well, I feel good, and weird enough, I was talking to Dwayne before we went on the air. I was on tour last fall, and I hadn't been feeling good. And I was at dinner with you and Dwayne and some friends out, on the West Coast. And it was really the low point. Up until then, I thought I had prostatitis, and I was being treated by doctors. But something was wrong that night. I mean, I was in pain that I hadn't been in ever. And went and spoke at the Reagan Library that next night, and then got on a plane and went back to Minneapolis and went in. And within days was informed that I had advanced metastatic prostate cancer, which it was like getting hit with a sledgehammer. For the first 36 hours, we didn't know what to. My wife and I basically huddled in our bedroom like we had the flu because we couldn't tell the kids anything because there wasn't any good news. I mean, I didn't know if I was going to make it to Christmas.
Right.
And it's amazing how quickly things can turn around. We ended up, I'm fortunate to live only an hour and 15 minutes from the Mayo Clinic. And I ended up down there 5 days later in front of a genius named Eugene Kwan, who looked at me and said, you might not feel like it, but you're a blessed guy. 2 years ago, we couldn't have done anything for you other than try to placate this, but now we can kill it. And, worst case scenario, I've got 5 to 10 years, and I plan on doing a lot better than that. So I feel good. I'm on a hormone therapy, which I'm going to have to write a book about at some point. I'm basically a 45-year-old man going through menopause, and
I'd read that book. That'd be interesting.
I now understand what women go through.
Vince Flynn.
The side effects are hot flashes and some other things, irritability.
I'm so impressed that you'll be public with it, though. A lot of men don't do it. I'm grateful that you do, so that people know this is a disease that can be treated, cured, and recovered from.
Well, and you know what? I'm old school Catholic, and I'm a big believer in prayer. And I'm not a Bible thumping kind of guy, but I absolutely believe that the more people who are out there praying for me, the better off I'm going to be, and my family's going to be. And I don't see what good it does to hide from a problem like this. I don't enjoy going out in public and having to talk about cancer. I don't enjoy going out in public and people wanting to tell me their worst cancer story as if somehow that's the kind of, mind frame I want to put myself in. But, it doesn't, it's not how I operate. It's never good. I do a fair amount of talking to high school kids, by the way, and I always tell them, never run from your problems. Because the longer you do, the worse it gets. It's better to meet this stuff head on and get focused and wrap your mind around it. And, Hugh, the hardest thing for me the first 6 to 8 weeks were these hormones. I have a pretty strong mental edge. I'm kind of a type A guy.
Yep.
And these hormones had me coming and going in ways I couldn't control my emotions. And one afternoon, I'll never forget, I sat in my office, and I'm not a big crier. My father raised all four my brothers and I. My dad told us we lost a AAU playoff game once when I was about 12 years old. One of my other brothers started crying. My dad pulled us out of the huddle and he said, "If I ever see you guys crying on a basketball court again, you're done."
There is no crying in baseball or basketball. Yep.
Yeah, there's things in life that are worth crying about, and this isn't one of them. Well, I sat in my office and cried for an hour and a half, and I allowed myself to do something that I have not since allowed myself to do, which is sit there and go down these dark corridors where I imagine my own funeral and my kids, and you can't do that. It's just there's no. All it does is, I think, it weakens your immune system, and it puts you in such a vulnerable place that it does no good for you or your family. So I got through that stage. The hormones have been other than the hot flashes and some side effects. They're fine. I mean, I got a good friend, Dr. Mike Nanny, right now he's got a brain tumor. So I like to say, put things in perspective. I get out of bed every day. I thank God that I'm alive. I thank God that I don't have to watch my wife go through this or my kids. And when I hear people complain about things that aren't problems, I sometimes will tell them, you should go down to Children's Hospital for a day and see what problems are really like.
That is a great encouragement to people, Vince Flynn. I got to ask you, what do you think of the American medical system since it's so much in the headlines now that you've been in its grip for a year?
Well, I'm in an interesting position because the Mayo Clinic is not it's not a public hospital.
Right.
It's a private clinic, and it's funded chiefly by donations by extremely wealthy people who are constantly building buildings. I couldn't be more impressed with my doctor, Bill Hewitt, here in Edina, who's also in private practice, and Eugene Kwan in the Mayo Clinic. I mean, I'm a research guy. You know that. That's why I come on your show. So when this hit, I reached out, and Roger Ailes put me in touch with Michael Milken. And I got on the phone with Milken and his top research guy, a guy named Dr. Howard Sewell, and I said to him, here's where I am. I'm down at the Mayo Clinic. And they breathed a sigh of relief, and they said, you know what? There's only the top two hospitals in America for what you have are Sloan Kettering in New York and the Mayo Clinic.
Wow.
And Eugene Kwan is a genius, and that's exactly where you need to be. So that's a great burden that I don't have to sit there and worry, am I with the right guy? And both Utes and Kwan have been amazing, and I have not had that experience of problems. I mean, I'm other than you really start to get sick of being probed and scanned and all that other stuff. You kind of it can be depressing. And then because you think, these are where people go to die at hospitals, and then you realize, you know what? A lot of people go to hospitals to get cured. So you kind of got to flip it around. And I've been lucky so far.
Our friend Hitchens told me before he became incapable of talking that, being sick is hard work. And you're a worker. You're a type A guy. Did you give up writing? Are you back at it now?
No, I'm back at it. I'm working on the Hague project with Brian Hague. We've got some exciting stuff going on out in Hollywood. It looks like we're going to shelf Consent to Kill, which we've been working on for the last 3.5 years. Lorenzo de Bonaventura and Amy Baer, who run CBS Films, they loved American Assassin, which is the prequel.
Sure.
This is the origin story of Mitch Rapp. They loved it so much they said, let's shelve Consent to Kill. Let's do American Assassin. And they just got Ed Zwick and Marshall Herskovitz to agree to write and direct. And I was just out in L.A., and I spent a couple days with these guys, and they are smart. They get geopolitics. They get that there's good guys and bad guys out there. And, Zwick did The Last Samurai, which I thought was just a phenomenal movie, as well as Blood Diamond and a bunch of other stuff. I mean, really talented guys. So we haven't inked the deal yet, but we're really close. And so I'm working on that. I'm trying to work on the next rap novel. And I'm trying to, beat this little cancer thing. So
you did not slow down. We're not going to slow down either, America. I'm coming right back with Vince Flynn. We're going to talk about bin Laden. And by the way, Memorial Day, one of Vince's novels, is one of the most eerie foreshadowings that you would want to have ever read. You get 100 pages of it free, by the way. Download over at vinceflynn.com just for joining up at Facebook. You'll know what I mean. We come back, we're going to talk about this amazing special operation that unfolded in Vince's mind 7 years ago and 2 weeks ago in American reality. Don't go anywhere. A special hour of the Hugh Hewitt Show with novelist Vince Flynn. Stay tuned.